Hi, and welcome back. And I'm seriously hoping my camera does better. Whoop, wrong way. My camera does better actually recording than it did when I was trying to set it up. Anyway, if this is your first time finding me, welcome. I'm glad that you joined me. This is my floss tube channel where I talk about my stitching and the stitching community and things that I think are interesting. I have many varied interests. I do have a crafting channel. I will be posting other things over there, and that's Kelly Bell, and this is Kelly Bell Stitches. But welcome. I've been watching, I have to say, a few more videos. I've been trying to catch up, but the videos have been very interesting, and they're actually longer, and they're getting longer, so it's hard to watch a lot when you're watching a lot longer. But it's all good. I enjoy every minute of it, as I hope you will enjoy watching my video. In this one, it's going to be an assortment of things. I got my round robin back, and I have that to show you. I finished my elephant biscornu as far as the stitching and the frame go. I just have to cut it apart and sew it together, which I may make a video of. Just speed it up and do a voiceover. I'm thinking that might be fun. And I have my current WIP, because I used my elephant biscornu as a focus in the last couple of weeks until I got the stitching done. And after that I worked on jeans and weenies a little bit, and I will show you that shortly. But I also pulled all my WIPs out because people have been doing a WIP parade, and I thought maybe I would see what comes up. I haven't sorted any of it, so it would be in whatever order I come to. I also have my 20 random things about me. There are so much more than 20 random things. There are many things I don't know that I would want the world to know. Sometimes you've got to keep a little of your weirdness to yourself. Not bad, just weird. And I also, people have been getting buttons from the, oh, now the name of the company has gone right out of my head. But it's like the, I don't know, something like Better Button, Best Button Company. I don't know. I know that Kay's Cross Stitch, Kara, she gets the subscriptions to that, and she was talking about how she puts all the bags in a box and that she had to think about storage. And a couple of videos ago I shared some of my beads, a very small drop in the bucket of my beads, because I have beads. But I thought I would share my part of my buttons, and I would have to show you my storage. And this is an art bin, and I'm sorry, I came out here because I have more room out here, but it's like a nylon, mylar, well, kind of a cross between a mylar, nylon, and canvas, I guess. It's very strong. It has a, let me get the dog hair off the handle, and it has a very tough adjustable strap. It has a short carry handle. I wrote my name in Sharpie a long time ago on it, because I carried it to many doll conferences and mixed media art things. It has a Velcro flap closure, and it's got, I don't know, 3 zippers. 2 that open up the front of it, and then, well, I guess it has 4 zippers. Then it has 2 that also release the top. Now, I've had this thing a very long time, but inside of here there are these plastic cases, and I bought it this way with all of the cases, and I love it. And here I will show you another one of my collections, because I have, let me see, don't know how I can do this. I have buttons. There's buttons, all kinds of buttons. It's what I seem to have, you know, everything from Christmas buttons, toys for the Santa sled. This is a girl's head. I mean, these are just buttons. Gingerbread house. Things I've collected over the years. No rhyme or reason, just buttons. And that was just a flat open case. And then these have compartments. And I have those kind of to color. And then there are these. And this is even an umbrella button. And a bunch of other buttons. There's a little pink bird button. And then here's more of a rainbow compartment of buttons. And here are some more buttons. And my bottom case in here has a rainbow assortment of little thread spools. And I've dropped this before. And it wasn't fun. Oh, here's some fun buttons. And I got these, I think, to put on a cat quilt, but I never quite finished. I still have plans to do it. Because I have the most amazing templates that make cats all sitting up in a row. Really cool. But this is a, I don't know if you can see that, a fish skeleton button. And I have a whole bunch of those. Those are brass. Oops, and I dropped it. There it is. So that's one way I store my buttons. But, and it's not full. I mean, I can fit more buttons into these boxes. Pretty easy. But, hey, you know, why just have one way of storing anything when there's so many options? I'm just zipping this up because, like I said, I've dropped this before and it is not pretty. And now that can go out of the way. But I also have jars of buttons. Those are black buttons, and then these are white buttons. And these are little jars. I do have some much larger jars that have buttons in them. I have some porcelain covered containers that have buttons. When I buy anything that has extra buttons, I always throw the buttons in the thing. And over the years with my kids, if I've gotten rid of any of their clothing, I've sometimes taken the buttons off to use the cloth as rags or to sew into something else. So I definitely have buttons, and I don't buy them anymore unless I find something I really like, that like Joann's or Michael's, to make something else out of. Then I'll buy a button. Anyway, so that's my take on buttons. And let's see. So it's been very rainy here, and you can see the sun keeps coming and going because there's rain in our forecast again. It's rained on and off for the last 3 days. Last night I went to the New York City Ballet, and that was at the Saratoga Performing Arts Center. I try to go to one show every year. I try to do this and either the Philadelphia Orchestra or the Boston Pops at Saratoga. SPAC is beautiful. It's an amphitheater, so if you get inside tickets, you're sitting in like a shell, and it's open to the back, and there's lawn seats, and the ballet last night was beautiful. And it didn't start to rain till it was time to leave, and then we, of course, had to walk out and get back to the car. Luckily, I'm a person who believes in being prepared, so I did have an umbrella with me, so my granddaughter and I got safely out of the theater, back to our car, and actually got out of the parking lot in fairly good time. So that was wonderful. Let's see. I don't know if I should show you my WIPs first or do the 20 random things about me. I don't know, I've shared so much over the year. I'm not sure how much is left. And I've written some things down, but I don't know, I think I'm going to wing it. I'll just use those to help me if I get stuck. Let's see. I grew up with my mom and dad. So it was a two-parent household. And also had my grandfather, my mother's father, and my mother's aunt lived with us. And it was a very small house. I grew up on a dead-end street. And we had a place where we could build a fire and sit outside at night. And my aunt had put an above-ground pool in, so we had lots to keep us active. And we lived up the street from a playground. So we were always getting together, neighborhood kids, and doing baseball games and kickball and all kinds of things. So it was a really good childhood. My mother had multiple sclerosis, though, and so I learned responsibility and respect for people with disability, and you know that everyone's normal. It's just everyone has their own normal, and we need to respect that. That's something that's been important to me my entire life. Self-respect and holding yourself accountable is also very important to me. I used to always think I was a liberal, but I've come to understand that I'm not a liberal. I'm definitely a conservative. I believe in respect, and I believe in duty, responsibility, all those things. And I don't believe, and I mean, I'm going with my mother here, just because something makes you different from someone else, like my mother had multiple sclerosis, it does not mean that she did not have the same accountability for herself. And to me today, a lot of our problem, and here I'm on a soapbox, comes from people expecting other people, I don't know, I guess not, I don't even know how to say it, but it's a lack of respect. Expecting too much, that you're owed too much, because no one really owes you anything. No one owes me anything. I am who I am because of who I am. I am responsible and accountable for my own self. Everything I do, I am responsible and accountable for. And I believe that that applies to every single one of us across the board. Anyway, that was probably too much of that. See? I told you, some things you just need to keep to yourself. Let's see. I did well in school. I lived in Germany for about a year when I was 19. I was also married at that time. And I had my first daughter at 19. And she was beautiful, and we were happy. And Germany was very interesting. I got to go see the wall. It's a place called Hell, and I was on the American, West German side, and you weren't allowed to make any waving or anything, but you could see like the trucks delivering guards to the other side, and you could see the one-way glass because you couldn't see into any of the buildings on the eastern side. And there were German Shepherd guard dogs, and it was pretty awful. And the barbed wire fencing actually was keeping people in, because it pointed towards the east side rather than out to the west. And apparently that fence had gone in the middle of the night, and it divided the town. So say it was my town and my daughter was visiting a friend on the other side, I would never see my daughter again. And to me, that is amazing. I can't believe that human beings would do that to each other. And unfortunately, I know it would still happen today, because there are still evil people in this world. But what are you going to do? Anyway, my year in Germany was very eye-opening. It's my understanding, and I have been to Germany since then, that things have changed quite a bit. But at the time, society was much different. I mean, I guess maybe it was living there. You saw the differences. And just the housing, the environment was different. It was very interesting. I enjoyed riding trains everywhere. Of course, I had to walk 6K to get to a train, to take a train, to get to where I wanted to go. Because I lived out in the country over there too. I lived on a pig farm. And a funny story with that is I didn't even know it was a pig farm until one winter. It snowed, and I guess the pigs rutted out of their barn and got out into the yard. Until then, I didn't even know it was a pig farm, because I mean, pig farms pretty much stink, but there was no smell on this farm. These people were so clean and wonderful, and the pigs were huge. I remember they were half as big as me, which brings me to another fact about me. My whole life, people ask me how tall I am, and I'd always say 5'2". And I have to say now that I'm probably lucky to scrape 5'1". So I'm a fairly short person with a fairly small bone structure. I have weight to lose. I've never really had this problem in my life, but now I do. I don't know if it's age or just being more sedentary than I used to be. I was always very active when I was younger, and while my husband was alive. I mean, we used to ride bikes and do everything, you know, go canoeing and kayaking. But now that I'm by myself, I don't do those things anymore. I miss it, but now the extent of my excitement is like doing my yard work, my mowing, my weeding, cutting tree branches, and then like once a year lately, or twice a year, we've been going down to Florida to Disney. Because in 2012, another thing about me is I bought a Disney timeshare. They don't call them timeshares, but they have a point system. So I bought 360 points. And my intention was that my family could get together and we could have family vacations to Disney. And although my one daughter and her family would join me on those trips, my son and my oldest daughter were never able to. So Disney's kind of worn thin on me. I mean, I like Disney, don't get me wrong, they're fun, but I have other things I want to do, and Disney is not cheap. So I'm in the process of trying to sell my timeshare, and I've got that with a agency now. I'm just waiting for the paperwork to come back for me to sign so they can advertise it for me. If you have a young family and you enjoy places like Disney, it's a good investment. My family's gotten older now, and if they want something like that, they can invest in it. And I will gladly travel with them. Let's see, what else? I've actually been married 3 times. I've lived in Cambridge for 26 years, and I would have been married to my husband for 26 years, this past July 7th. And we were best friends. I mean, he was my heart and soul. And we had a lot of good years together. I mean, we had some tough times too, because he had 3 kids and I had 3 kids, and combining families is never easy. But we got through together, and he passed away in 2011. And yep, he was a retired. He worked for the. Well, I'm a retired government employee. I worked for New York State for the tax department, which I hated. But one of the reasons I worked for the tax department was because when I was 26, they found a tumor on my pituitary gland, which is an inch behind the bridge of your nose. And at the time I was working at Ponderosa, prepping salad bar. I was working in the kitchen. And it was a good job. I enjoyed it. I could, get home early. I worked till 2 in the afternoon, and I could be home with my kids at, in the afternoon. And it was good, but when they found a tumor, I needed to make sure my kids were going to be okay. And at the time, the man I was married to was not a person that I would want to entrust children to. He wasn't a bad person, but he'd grown up in an orphanage, and he wasn't a great person. So anyway, when I meet adversity like that, I become a very determined person. So I went to the unemployment office, and they offered me a typing test. And I took that typing test, and I got a job with New York State as a data entry machine operator. And over doubled my income, which was good. And I had a will written, and I took out life insurance, and I even took out life insurance on my kids. I made sure in my will I stated who the trustee was and who would have guardianship of my children if anything happened to me. I mean, I covered my bases. Like I said, I like to be prepared. Hope for the best, pray for the best, prepare for the worst. And as things turned out, when I was 27, on May Day, I had my tumor surgically removed. They actually took my nose apart. They laid the septum down and opened this all up, and they went in through the cavity in my skeleton, my nasal cavity, and took the tumor out, packed it, stitched it all, put, screen in there to hold my nose all together, and 7 days later I went home. The results of that were the tumor was fibrous. They said they thought they'd gotten it all. They took me off all medication within 2 weeks, and 85% of those tumors grow back within 10 years. And it's now been 31 years, and I'm tumor-free. And so far cancer-free, knock on wood again. But I understand the fear that goes through a person when that's a potential thing. And my prayers are always with people who are struggling with any kind of disease. It's a very horrifying thing in your life. Hopefully just a speed bump, though, and something you can get past. So, geez, not a lot of cheerful stuff. Let's see, some fun stuff. Back when I had married my husband, there used to be a bakery in Cambridge. Cambridge is a very small town. We have one traffic light. It's a central school. So what I mean is the school is in basically one kind of stretched out building, and it's K to 12. So every class until you graduate high school and go to college is in that building for Cambridge. And When my middle daughter and twin stepsons graduated, it was a graduating class of 65. 3 of the kids were ours, and 5 of them were foreign exchange students. Cambridge is a very small place, and it still is. There's still only one traffic light, and the sidewalks pretty much roll up unless there's a special event by probably 5 o'clock. But back when that King's Bakery was there, I was in the bakery and we were having coffee with my father-in-law, my husband and I. And I was just kind of sitting there, people watching, because Ted and Andy were talking. And I was only half listening, and this man walks up to the table, and I kind of leaned back because I figured he knew Ted, because I had only lived here a couple of years. And even after 26 years, I don't know that many people because I worked an hour from here. So I never really met a lot of people, except people through my husband. So anyway, this guy walks up to the table, and I lean back thinking he wants to talk to my husband, who's sitting on the inside of the table. And he looks at me and he says, "Has anyone ever told you that you look like a young Susan Sarandon? And I would like to photograph you for a magazine layout." And I just looked at him. It was like, I'm a very introverted, kind of shy person in reality. Unless my temper's triggered, but we won't go there. So I just looked at Ted and I said, "Do you know this guy?" And he introduced himself. He said his name was Dwayne Michael, and he was a photographer for, his studio was in New York City. He and his significant other own a farm here outside of Cambridge. And he was doing some photos for a story in Parenting magazine. And the long and the short of it was he wanted to use some photos of me as filler for this article in Parenting. So that was kind of interesting, very shocking. And that was the first time anyone had ever, see, the camera decided to quit too. So my picture's been in Parenting magazine a few times years ago, and even my son was in one of the shots with me. And I think we did one here at my house at the table with my whole family. And that was an interesting time in my life. And let's see. Since then, I've had different episodes with being compared to Susan Sarandon. One of them was on the Riverwalk down in San Antonio. We were having lunch at a restaurant. A mariachi band was playing, and a waitress ran up with her pad out, and she says, "Oh," she says, "are we having a celebrity moment?" And she says, "Has anyone told you you look like Susan Sarandon?" No. Well, yes, but my family wasn't amused. And then it happened just last year at the Verizon store. My hair, when it was longer, I think I had it down. And I'd walked into the Verizon store, and the woman had done a double take behind the register. And she said, "Has anyone ever told you that you look like Susan Sarandon?" So, in another lifetime, I was probably related to Susan Sarandon. No. Let's see, something else. Oh, my mother's mother, my, I guess, matriarchal family, we are Dietz, D-I-E-T-Z, and the family is one of the 3 founding families of New York State along the Mohawk River in a place known as Palatine. And there was a massacre on the Dietz farm because during the Revolutionary War, the Mohawk Indians actually fought with the British, and they attacked the homestead and basically killed everyone on the homestead except Captain Dietz, and they took him hostage. So, yep, part of that is significant. So that actually qualifies me that if I applied for, I could be accepted as a daughter of the American Revolution and be part of that group. And I am very proud of my American heritage. Yes, I was an immigrant. My family were immigrants just like everyone else. I mean, England, Germany, you know, Dutch, all came here at some point. But I am very proud to be an American. I think everyone should be proud of where they live, proud of your country, because there's a lot of good in every country. And I have to say, America's done a lot of good. Yes, there's bad, but America has done a lot of good. I come from a very patriotic family. My father and his brothers were military. My uncle Bob was a Marine, my Uncle Jim, and my father were in the Army, mostly Korean War age. My father was a cryptographer. He was stationed in Japan. He was a very smart man. He has dementia now. It's very sad. My brothers both served in the military. My one brother is still security at Cape Canaveral in Florida. He was a sniper in the Philippines. My other brother is a really great computer programmer. He was in the military for like 16 years, and he started out underground at the Pentagon when President Reagan was president. Let's see, my husband was a navigator on C-130s. He served in the Vietnam War on the flight crew that performed air-to-air refueling over Vietnam. And he served in the National Guard here in New York until he completed his 30 years of service, and he was a retired, decorated colonel. I'm very proud of my husband because people who met him would never have known his background because he was very down to earth. Everybody loved my husband. He was gregarious and kind and a very good person. Let's see, and my oldest daughter also joined the Air Force 2 weeks out of high school. And she worked very hard to be accepted. And she went into Intel. I still remember her telling me I couldn't tell people what she was doing because it was secret. And if anybody asked me, I was to say she was a cook. And I'm sorry, but at the time my oldest daughter came out of high school, she couldn't even boil water. I still remember a phone call with her asking me at a later time how to cook spaghetti. So, yeah, to tell people she was a cook. Okay. And the special thing about her going into service was the induction ceremony was in Albany, which is the capital of New York. And my husband inducted her into the Air Force. So he performed the ceremony for my daughter. And my mother, my father, our children, and my grandmother were all at the ceremony. So, and I have pictures of that, and it's very special to me. Oh, and I know that's not 20 things about me. Let's see, I was a mid-level manager. I supervised about, I don't know, 200 people. I wore many hats. Some of the new initiatives with the New York State that the tax department went into, like monitoring who was able to sell ammunition. I would liaise with the state police here to track that. That was part of my job. I ran a phone bank for New York State sales tax. Oh, so many things. Training, wrote procedures, set up manuals, perform training, both job training and managerial training. I was very happy to retire because it seemed like jobs were just starting to pile on. I enjoyed the people, was very happy not to commute an hour anymore. Two things stem from that. One, I hate talking on the phone. I don't answer my phone unless I recognize the phone number. You can leave me a voicemail. If it's important, I call you back. If it's not, I don't. Much prefer text messages and email. And two, I commuted an hour each way to work for almost 30 years. I don't get in my car now unless I have to. And I love to travel. I would love to travel. My bucket list includes places like the Grand Canyon and Yosemite National and things like that. I've been to several states visiting, and I've been to Hawaii. I haven't been to Alaska. I would love to see Alaska. I've landed in Newfoundland. Didn't get off the plane though. I would have loved to have gotten off the plane and actually seen it. My husband has been everywhere. Everywhere. He had been all over the continent. North and South Pole. You name it, he was there. The Air Force, being a navigator on a plane that carried the National Science Foundation around, and were based out of the South Pole and the North Pole. I mean, Antarctic and the Arctic were his two bases of operation when he went on missions. And to have had that life. But I've been to Germany, England, and France. I would love to go to Australia. Australia is a place I have always wanted to see since I was a kid. I even had immigration papers for Australia when I was 15 because I had done a paper on Australia for school, and they sent me immigration papers and I filled them out. My mother wouldn't let me mail them. That and New Zealand. And my son's been to New Zealand, the little bum. And my husband would go to Christchurch when they were going to McMurdo Sound in the Antarctic, so he went to New Zealand a lot. But I've never been to New Zealand, and I would love to see New Zealand. And Ted always said that Guam was more beautiful than Hawaii, so I would have loved to see Guam too. Let's see, what else don't you know about me? Let's see, everybody knows I like to craft. I love to make things. I like to do my things myself. I used to do a lot of the DIY around my house myself, but that's kind of lost interest. My house is a money pit. It was built in the 1700s as a stagecoach stop on the Great Northern Turnpike, and it doesn't matter how much I put into it, it just keeps sucking more. So I guess that's going to be the story of my life here. And I'm sorry for this lighting. It keeps changing, but I have more room here. Let's see. So I guess that's about it. I still live with 4 dogs, 5 cats, and a 17-year-old goldfish that I call Fish. And yes, he's 17 years old, and he's about that big because we put one little goldfish that was won at a county fair in a ping pong ball toss, because my husband did that every year, and every year he brought goldfish home. So we got this goldfish, and we only had this goldfish left when my husband passed. And this goldfish is now 17 years old and is probably between 7 and 9 inches long. And he's pretty happy swimming around in his 65-gallon tank. And I take care of him every day. I never had any responsibility for that fish. He was my husband's fish. And it's amazing how much I panicked because that fish almost died. after my husband had passed. And I went out and bought a new tank, a huge 5-gallon bucket, a siphon for the tank, and I worked like a maniac to save that fish. And I saved that fish, and he is still going strong. I think I've already told my children that that fish is going to be part of an inheritance. When I go, the fish is going to go to the next kid available. Anyway, that's enough about me. I hope you enjoyed it. I've been enjoying your 20 random things. I hope that was interesting. Let's see, is there anything here? I guess I kind of covered it all. Everything I thought of anyway. If you have any questions, you can ask them. If there's anything you think I might have left out, which I doubt. Let's see. Let's go on to my, my elephant biscornu. I am very happy to say that the cross stitching is done, and I've got the frame stitched, and this is what it'll look like when it's put together. That's the top with the elephants, the mama and the baby, and then that's the back with the, I always call these Chevrolet signs. They remind me of American Indians, and I know in France I think cheval is horse, and this is the emblem on the Chevrolet automobile. So I don't know, it's on elephants, but it always makes me think of horses. Go figure. Let's see, I put a little stitch in the thing so I always knew which side was up. And there's the front, and I had done that video when I put my gold buttons on. And you can see the frame is all stitched around it. And then that's the back. And it's all done. And I've got the frame stitched around it. So now all I have to do is cut it apart, find a button I want to use, which I've showed you my buttons, so I know I must have a button there somewhere, and sew it together. And I may, like I said, try filming that and show you my success or failure. We'll see. And the only other thing that I've stitched on since my last video was jeans and weenies. I said I was going to do this for Patriotic July stitching, and because the 4th of July was Independence Day in the United States, and so I worked on jeans and weenies. And when I did this the last time, I didn't have much of the flag done, and I didn't have any of the words done, and so since then I have done some, I've got jeans in there and started end, and I've got a lot more of the little flower symbols done, and I'm finishing the flag. I haven't got the blue. I did a lot of the red stitching, so that's coming along really well, and I'm stitching it in hand. I did the elephant biscornu in hand also, and I really enjoy stitching in hand. Now this is an 18 count trying to think what the name of it is. It's some kind of a mocha that I bought at 123, vintage country mocha maybe, that I bought at 123 Stitch, where the biscornu is on a 32 count white Joblin. So this is a white Joblin, but I have stitched both of these in hand. I really like this Joblin. Has been really nice to stitch. I really appreciate fabrics that I can stitch in hand with. Some of them are just too loose a weave. I'm not comfortable stitching them in hand. Let's see, I was going to do a WIP parade. Oh, I was going to show you my round robin. Oh, cross stitch finish line. This was such a good experience. Joanne Perry facilitated this on cross stitch finish line. And she didn't even participate. She facilitated. She was so wonderful. And she did such a great job. And the people in my group, I can't thank them enough. This is so adorable. I mean, and all I did was the center motif. It's not done. There's still some other things I have to think of to do around these. So I did this, and I let them know the colors I used, and then I just asked that they do something tea themed. And so this is what I got. Aren't they beautiful? Just gorgeous. And the colors are so amazing. The gold is Krennic, and everybody put Krennic in their piece. And there are a few little beads in the pansies. Okay, look at that little pansy teacup. Isn't that the most beautiful thing? I love it. I mean, look at that. Look at the detail. So beautiful. I love that little mouse. Isn't he cute? That's part of the Brooks books, Alice in Wonderland. That's the dormouse. Isn't he cute? And this is on 18 count fiddler cloth Ada. I just like this the firmer weave fabrics, I guess. I think that's it. And it was just the best experience. We had a good time. Everybody did their part, and everybody got their pieces back, and it was amazing. And I only have one piece of haul, and it's actually my subscription to Color and Cotton, and it's beautiful. I love her threads. They're beautiful. And I had subscribed for fabric, and I think I will get a fabric piece, but I actually canceled my subscriptions because all of them. I even canceled my Darn Good Yarn because I'm just getting too much stuff. I just can't do it. I've got so much stuff. But it came, this Color and Cotton floss came in this adorable bag again. So I've got two of these, and I'm going to use these in journals. I just have to make a couple of journals to put them in. And then these are the flosses I received. Let me see if I have something somewhere. Maybe I can use the back of one of my cards. Hang on. Thank you for sticking in with me if you have, because this is a long video for me. This is Flagstone, and of course the sun's gone in, so maybe that's a good thing. Flagstone, beautiful gray. And this is Fairy Ring, wood nymph type, mosses and stuff, beautiful greens, nice variegation. And then this is African Violet. This is like one of my favorite flowers too. Beautiful variegated purples. And then this is Earth Day. Look at those, aren't those bright, beautiful greens and blues? And then this is Sherbet. Does remind me of sherbet ice cream. I guess sherbet's not ice cream, but sherbet. It's beautiful. So I've really loved getting these, and who knows, maybe in the future I'll go back to it, but I want to use some of what I've got first. So, but it's all good. So I think I stopped at an even 20 threads. So now I just have to find something to use them in. And that card I was using is, I've been starting to work on my Christmas cards, and I also like to make cards. So this is part of a Heartfelt Creations collection that just came out. It's called Holly. Ooh, I don't even know. I'd have to look, and I don't have it out here with me. But this is what I've been doing this time, is I've been stamping. This is from last year's collection, and So what I've been doing is doing some stamping and some watercolor painting. And this type of stuff I'll put on my other channel. But this is part of this collection with the holly berries, and there's cardinals and things like that. It's a beautiful collection. So those are going to be part of my Christmas cards this year. Yes, Christmas in July. I'm trying to get a jump on it this year. Usually I have all good intentions and it never gets very far. So we'll see if it gets anywhere. You never know. I think I'm going to save my WIP parade to my next video because this is going on a while, and I don't know, I don't want to bore you. So maybe it's too late. So from my house to yours, until next time, I hope that you have lots of happy days stitching and time spent with family. Take care. God bless. Bye.